1900 English beer poisoning. In the English Midlands and Northwest England, over 6,000 were poisoned and 70 people died after drinking beer, which used non-purified sulfuric acid laced with arsenic as an ingredient. Most survivors were paralyzed. Jesse William Lazier, the 34-year-old American physician, was convinced that mosquitoes were carriers for yellow fever. He allowed himself to be bitten by multiple mosquitoes and died days later from the disease. Lothar Sieber, the 22-year-old Luftwaffe test pilot, died while making the only manned test flight of the Baikamba 349 Natter vertical takeoff bomber. On his fatal flight, Sieber became the first human to fly a vertically launched rocket. Louis Slotin, the 35-year-old Canadian physicist and Manhattan Project scientist, died as the result of an accident while performing an experiment called tickling the dragon's tail with a plutonium core, which came to be known as the Demon Core. His screwdriver slipped, exposing him to a fatal dose of radiation. Slotin died 9 days later. The other people in the room observing the experiment survived. Thomas Mantell, the 25-year-old PA-51 Mustang fighter pilot, crashed while in pursuit of an unidentified flying object near Franklin, Kentucky, thus becoming the first person known to have died as a result of a UFO sighting. Officially, the object remains unidentified, though the most likely explanation is that it was a U.S. Navy skyhook balloon. Grigory Rasputin, the 47-year-old Russian mystic, died of 3 gunshot wounds, one of which was a close-range shot to his forehead. Little is certain about his death beyond this, and the circumstances of his death have been the subject of considerable speculation. According to his murderer himself, Prince Felix Yusupov, Grigory Rasputin consumed tea, cakes, and wine, which had been laced with cyanide, but he did not appear to be affected by it. He was then shot once in the chest and believed to be dead, but after a while he leapt up and attacked Yusupov, who freed himself and fled. Rasputin followed and made it into the courtyard before being shot again and collapsing into a snowbank. The conspirators then wrapped his body and dropped it into the Malaya Nevka River. The 27-year-old Greek king died of sepsis after being bitten by a palace steward's pet Barbary macaque in his garden, while trying to break up a fight between his German shepherd and another monkey. Alexander Bogdanov, the 54-year-old Soviet polymath and pioneer of blood transfusion, died after exchanging his blood with his student who suffered from malaria and tuberculosis, presumably due to hemolytic transfusion reaction. Bogdanov's hypotheses were that the younger man's blood would rejuvenate his own aging body, and that his own blood, which he believed was resistant to tuberculosis, would treat the student's disease. The student injected with his blood made a complete recovery.